Hey there friends, a little bit different video for you guys today. This is one of those situations that I always like to look at and wonder what we would have done had we been in the same situation. Now, I know there's a lot of different types of variables associated with this story, so let me play the video for you first and then let's discuss it.
Well, getting your car towed can be a pain, but how about getting towed while you're driving? It's an alarming ordeal one East Bay couple experienced while running errands in San Francisco. I spoke to them in a story you'll see only on 7.
What the f are you doing?
That's the sentiment from the man who witnessed what happened to Joanne and her husband as they drove through downtown San Francisco Tuesday morning.
We're at a stoplight and we're just minding our own business.
While the couple were stopped along Bush and Montgomery, they thought the yellow specialty towing truck was moving toward a nearby Waymo autonomous vehicle, but soon realized it was getting too close for comfort.
He came from the side. He started doing the reverse and all the lights came on. That's when we were like, okay, something is really wrong, and his lever came down.
The tow truck makes several attempts to hook on to their 2017 Toyota Corolla. When the light turns green, the Waymo next to them drives off. But Joanne, who requested we only use her first name, realizes her husband, who's driving, is stuck in front of this black sedan.
And we were freaking out. The first instinct was to make sure that we get away.
Fortunately, the black car backs up and Joanne's husband is able to drive away. You can see the tow truck give chase. Joanne says for several blocks.
It's definitely really scary.
We reached out to Specialty Towing via email and phone, but did not hear back. The company, along with 2 others, were charged by City Attorney David Chu this past February for fraud and illegally towing parked cars. They're now prohibited from bidding or receiving city contracts. Joanne and her husband tell me they were eventually able to lose the tow truck and drove back home to the East Bay. They maintain they didn't do anything wrong and are still perplexed as to why they were targeted.
Full disclaimer, I definitely paid off my car. There's no late payments or anything. I paid my registration.
She's planning to file a police report soon and is sharing their story to raise awareness for other drivers.
Be more careful when they're driving around, as well as just making sure that if something kicks in or if something doesn't look right, make sure you do your best to protect yourself.
Okay, let's look at the obvious first before we inject ourselves into that type of situation. First of all, this is San Francisco, right? It's a liberal S-hole, literally in many cases. You're going to have drug users, drug paraphernalia, syringes, junkies, all allowed, all promoted. That's not to say all the other things that go on in San Francisco that are accepted. I don't mean the gay stuff. I mean just in California in general, but more specifically, San Francisco being the butthole of that state. So you definitely are seeing some things happen there that might not fly in other areas, and I mean in many different instances. Notice nobody intervenes in any kind of way. Nobody's trying to assist either the tow truck driver or the other people whose car is trying to get towed away. Tow truck driver, we don't know the full story of this. We do, of course, have the testimony from the lady whose husband was driving the Corolla, which, by the way, I will say this, Corollas are still in that top 10 list of most stolen vehicles. Not saying this guy from Specialty Towing was trying to steal the vehicle, but that is a possibility. Because if you take this lady at her word, this is a 2017 Corolla. When you buy a brand new car, you typically buy it in the year, if it's a 2017, she probably bought it in 2016. That's usually how it works. I mean, any vehicle I've bought is the newer version of it, maybe. And if I'm buying a 2014, I'm probably buying it in 2013 because those years come out kind of partly into the previous year. So if she bought this in 2016, it's 2024 now, it's 8 years. I don't know if you finance a car, if you can finance a car for more than 7 years. In fact, it's shocking to me that you can finance a car for 7 years. But that was 8 years ago that she would have bought this car. I understand she could have bought it used and financed it used. I get that. But she says, if we take her at her word, that the car is paid off and she does not owe a note on it and that she's paid up with her registration over there, which is that a towable offense to not have your registration paid up? But nevertheless, this is a repo truck, right? And of course, they did state that these people were not allowed to repo in particular areas in that particular community anyway, for various reasons. Now, that's taking the local politician's word for that. which we know they're all liars and nutbags anyway. So it's really hard for me to take anybody's side except for the Corolla driver at this point. So as I look at this video, I have to assume this tow truck driver was either A, stealing the vehicle, or B, had the wrong vehicle and was trying to repo somebody else's vehicle and mistakenly, I mean, this is a very popular vehicle and it's very plain looking. There's probably 10,000 more of these running around San Francisco. So probably had the wrong vehicle. It's just one of the, he is in front of the vehicle, not behind it either. So as far as looking at license plates and things like that, it's possible he chose or picked the wrong vehicle, and the one that he was trying to repo might be sitting in the parking lot or the street right next to what we're looking at right here. All of this to say, let's assume, because I'll never be in downtown San Francisco. I'll never be, ever, unless I'm kidnapped and brought to downtown San Francisco. You will not catch me in that butthole. So, well, that sounded really bad, especially when we're talking about San Francisco. You know what I'm saying, right? You follow me, right? Without the whole other stuff going on. But nevertheless, let's take this whole situation and put it in your own community. Let's try that to see what we would do. Because again, most of us are never going to find ourselves in San Francisco. So, okay, I live in the South. I live in South Louisiana. If this were to happen to me and a tow truck pulls up behind me and tries to forcibly, while myself and my family are in the vehicle, that brings up a whole litany of other things right there when you have the rest of your family in there. Sometimes we think of things in a particular way when it's just us because we're like, oh, I can get myself out of this. When you have either your wife or your child or both, any family member in there, and maybe they're not as capable of defending themselves as you and I are, it throws a whole different curveball in there. Not to mention the fact that if you are trying to repo or tow, I don't care what the reasons are, with a 2-ton vehicle, whatever those trucks, those tow trucks weigh, okay, that is assault with a deadly weapon. It's also attempted kidnapping. That's just the two off the top of my head. I'm sure there's tons more. If it's the wrong vehicle, would that be considered grand theft, right? I mean, they're taking the wrong vehicle. They don't have permission to take that vehicle. So there's a whole lot of things that play into that. So if I'm in South Louisiana and this dude backs up to my vehicle with my family in the car, what do? I have my own opinions about how I would handle this. I would love to know how you guys would have handled this. Let's make these assumptions because I want to get your feedback. We're going to base this on what we know in terms of this video. This car was not to be repossessed according to the lady. So we're going to take that at face value. And they did not do anything wrong, and there was no reason for that tow truck to be backing up to that vehicle to take it. So when you put yourself in that position, I don't want you thinking, well, my car might need to be repoed. You know, I hadn't paid it in 3 months. Don't be thinking that. Pay your bills, first of all, but don't be thinking in terms of, well, it might be the repo man coming to my house. I want you to place yourself in this scenario based on what this lady described. So wherever you live, non-San Francisco, I want you to think of it in terms of, I'm in a vehicle that is mine. It's paid off. I don't owe anything on it. Nobody should be backing up to me to take my vehicle. So I have to assume at that point, this is a legitimate threat. What do you do? Seriously, and if you look at this in downtown San Francisco, again, I know we would not have been there, but I mean, let's say Houston or Baton Rouge, New Orleans areas, right, where I would be. If you assume the threat is real and that these people are going to try to do you harm, do you immediately lean out the window and start shooting at them? Do you let them take you? Call the police on the way. And whenever you get there, you unload on the guy. Do you maybe jump out where he can't get away at a red light where he's blocked in and carjack his vehicle from him? I'm just saying, I mean, he's in the commission of a crime at that point. Whatever you do is trying to defend yourself. I also wonder where castle doctrine and stand your ground and all that comes into play here. You follow what I'm saying? In a lot of states, and I think most states, your car is an extension of your home. So this person is essentially stealing your home at this point, but as long as you're in that vehicle, I believe all those things pertain to you. If you step out and shoot at the guy, or you step out and go up to him with a loaded weapon, what happens then? Attorneys, I would love to hear from you guys on this, because there's so much at play right here. I think the number one thing to take away from this as we watch it is be aware of your surroundings and where you are, because I can guarantee you, if this person, this driver, or the passenger even, had gotten out, even though attempted kidnapping, assault with a deadly weapon, all those things would apply here if they're right and they don't owe anything and that car should not be repoed. If somebody would have shot at this tow truck driver, again, you see where they are? They're in San Francisco. They're in one of the biggest gun-hating cities and states in the United States. I can't imagine a DA would be very friendly to them, no matter how badly they needed to and intended to, and rightfully so, were protecting themselves and their family. This would not be a place. That's another reason why I wouldn't go, because I would never want to have to second guess my need to protect myself or my family based on what court consequences could be coming down the road. What a horrible situation to be in. I've got enough things to worry about trying to protect myself and my family and to keep us all healthy and safe. Now I got to worry about what happens if I shoot this guy. Where am I at in 6 months? Again, another reason to stay out of San Francisco and a lot of these other liberal enclaves out there. But this is a very crazy situation. This is one of those ones that, man, it makes you scratch your head and start really thinking this thing through to try to say, what would I have done? Because this is nuts. I will say this in closing. The only red flag that I saw in this lady's story when she was describing what took place was whenever she claimed that she had plans to file a police report soon. You haven't already? And I'm not saying that the cops would do anything. That's not my point. Is I know nothing will probably happen, right? It's San Francisco. But if you plan to file a police report, why haven't you already? Why haven't you pressed charges against these people? Oh, I know it's probably, flower child, peace loving. Oh, let's just everybody love and hug it out and just have fun and just, not worry about things, man. Just, let's all be one, man. You know what I'm saying? Okay, I get it. You're in San Francisco. This person could have hooked onto you. This person could have killed you. You don't know where or what this person planned to do with you in the vehicle. What were they going to do when they got somewhere? Just ask you politely to get out? This doesn't look like a very reasonable person as far as trying to hook onto this vehicle. I doubt I would have wanted to share much time with them after we got wherever we were going.
God save the Queen, man.
I'm sorry, I thought this was America.